The English Learning Secret. My English learning journey in London. Hello, my name is Jenny. I am a student of English literature, and this is my story. I want to tell you about my life in London and about my fantastic English teacher. You can read my story and learn English with me. Chapter 1. My fantastic teacher. It was a beautiful summer day. I was traveling on a train. Two women were sitting opposite me, and they were speaking English. I didn't understand much. I was studying English, but I was still a beginner. I didn't know many words. I started speaking to the women, using a few simple English words. They understood what I wanted to say, and that made me happy. I told them that I wanted to learn English. The women told me that they were from England and that they were going home after attending a conference. We talked for about 10 minutes. Then the train arrived at my station. I said goodbye. The women gave me their address and phone number and told me that I could visit them in England someday. Then we said goodbye again. After that meeting, I started working on my English every day. I translated texts and watched films in English. 6 months later, my English had improved a lot. It was much better, but I still wanted to learn more. So I went to London because I wanted to study English in England. When I arrived in London, I joined a language school. My first lesson was on Monday. I met my teacher and the other students in the class. My teacher was a young, kind, and friendly woman. She was very nice and very humble. We introduced ourselves, and then we began the lesson. Our teacher asked us some questions. To understand our level, she wanted to know how much we already knew about English. Then she told us that she could teach us through a very effective method. The method was very simple. She said we wouldn't have to spend all our time studying textbooks. Instead, we would use English as much as possible in our daily lives. This method turned out to be very effective for me. I didn't like studying from textbooks because they often confused me. Then we talked about what is important when learning a new language. Our teacher told us that language is a tool for communication. We need language to communicate with other people. It helps us express our ideas, our thoughts, and our feelings. So when you learn a new language, one of the best methods is to use that language to express yourself and communicate with others. And that was exactly what we were going to do in our course. We were going to speak English and use it as much as possible. Many students try to memorize new words. They also study grammar rules. But they don't actually use English for speaking. They study about the language, but they don't use the language. There is a difference. Of course, you need to learn new words and grammar, but you don't have to study them all the time. You need to practice them every day. In this course, I wanted to learn a simple and effective method for learning vocabulary and grammar. I really liked what our teacher said. Our lesson continued. Slowly and naturally, we talked about our hobbies and the things we liked to do in our free time. We spoke in pairs, and also with our teacher. I really enjoyed the class. I was happy because this new way of learning English was very effective for me. Chapter 2. How I learned vocabulary. I went to school again on Tuesday. One of the students asked an interesting question. She asked, "What is the best way to learn new words?" Our teacher said, "There are many things you can do to learn new words, but I will tell you one of the most effective ways to learn vocabulary. Reading. When people read, they learn new words naturally. Regular reading can help people build vocabulary much faster than simply memorizing lists of words once our teacher told us that it was good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. Then she explained how to get the most benefit from reading first. It is very important to choose a book or text that is interesting to you. You should enjoy reading it. The book can be a beautiful story, fiction, or non-fiction. It doesn't matter what you choose, as long as you are interested in it. Don't read a text that is boring or too difficult for you. When you don't understand many words, you can become frustrated. You should always try to enjoy what you are doing. While learning a language, it is best to choose a text that is interesting and suitable for your level. When you are reading and see a word you don't understand, take a dictionary and look it up. Then look at its meaning. This will help you understand the text better and increase your vocabulary. You don't always have to write the word down. If you meet the word several times in different situations, you may naturally remember its meaning, and reading has another great advantage. When you read, you don't just learn new words. You also learn how words connect with other words in a sentence. You can see how words are used together and how to form sentences correctly. This way of learning is very effective. Try it, and you will see how quickly your vocabulary can grow. After that, we continued with the lesson. We talked about life in England and the best jobs for students. This was useful for me because I wanted to get a job. I wanted to do something in my spare time after school. I asked the other students if they knew where I could find a job. They told me that I should go to a job center. The job center offered many different jobs, especially for students. I was happy because now I knew where I could look for work. When my school day was over, I went to the job center. I didn't know what kind of job I could do. So I asked a woman there, "What is a good job for a student?" She told me that they had some good jobs for students. She said I could work as a cleaner or a waitress in a cafe. I told her that I didn't have any experience. She said that my English was good enough to work in a cafe. The training wouldn't be difficult, and I would have more chances to speak English than as a cleaner. She told me I could start my new job on Thursday. That was perfect for me. I was happy because I had found a job where I could practice English. Remember, when you want to learn new words effectively, try to read for at least 30 minutes every day. Chapter 3. How I improved my pronunciation. On Wednesday, I went to school again. There was one student in our class who was quieter than the others. He was from South Korea. When our teacher asked if we had any questions, the student from Korea raised his hand. He said, "I have a big problem with pronunciation." He knew his pronunciation wasn't very good, but he didn't know how to improve it. He didn't speak much because he didn't have many people to listen to his English. He said he read and watched films in English a lot. He understood English very well, but he also wanted to improve his speaking. He asked, "Is there anything I can do to improve my pronunciation?" When my teacher heard this, she said, "Of course, I will tell you something about pronunciation and how to practice it. I will also teach you a technique that can help all of you improve your pronunciation. First, we have to understand why students have problems with pronunciation. When we speak, we have to move our mouths and use the muscles in our mouths. We all do this. The problem is, when you speak English, you may use those muscles in the same way as in your native language. Because of this, your pronunciation can sound different from native English speakers. This happens to many English learners. Almost everyone has some differences in pronunciation when learning English. In fact, It isn't a big problem because people can usually understand you, even if your pronunciation isn't perfect. However, you can improve it by using a great technique called shadowing. The technique is very simple. When you do shadowing, you copy the sounds and words that you hear. When children learn their first language, they copy their parents again and again. Eventually, their pronunciation becomes natural. You can use a similar method, our teacher explained. Take a video or audio recording that is not too fast and that you can understand well. Listen carefully. Then copy what you hear, that's all. We watched a video. Then we all tried shadowing for about 3 minutes afterward. Our teacher said, shadowing is also useful for presentations. If you have a presentation and want to improve your pronunciation, find a quiet place and practice shadowing for about 10 minutes. You will speak more clearly. This was very interesting for me. I had never heard of this technique before. When the lesson finished, I went to the school reception. I asked if there were any sports activities. I wanted to play a sport in England. The receptionist said, yes, we have table tennis. And football training is today at 5 o'clock. I was very happy. I went to football training and met players from many countries. Brazil, Japan, Russia, Spain, Argentina, and Italy. I really enjoyed it. My time in England had started so well. I had a great teacher. I had new friends. And the next day, I was starting my new job. Remember? Listen to native speakers and repeat after them. Chapter 4. Thinking Aloud. On Thursday, I went to school again. We had a new student. Her name was Elizabeth. And she was from Italy. My teacher asked her some questions. She already knew Elizabeth because she had visited the class 1 year earlier. It had been a beginner class. For only 2 weeks in summer, when Elizabeth spoke, she spoke beautifully. Her pronunciation was excellent. And she was fluent. My teacher was very happy, she said. Elizabeth, your school in Italy must be very good. Elizabeth smiled and said, I don't go to any English school. I learn English at home. I use the techniques I learned from you. I read, I do shadowing, and I think aloud. I try to think more in English than in Italian. This is how I work on my English. The 2 weeks in your class helped me a lot. That's why I came back 1 year ago. I was a beginner now. I can speak English. My teacher was very happy. I found this very interesting. I already knew about reading and shadowing. But Elizabeth mentioned something new. Thinking aloud, I asked. What is thinking aloud? Our teacher said. It is a very effective technique. You need strong motivation. It may feel strange at first, but it can improve your English very quickly. I said, I have strong motivation. I want to learn it. Our teacher said, you think in your native language all day. Now, start thinking in English. And then, say your thoughts aloud, that's all, Elizabeth explained. I started with simple sentences. I am learning English. I can speak English. I want to get better. I practice every day. At first it was difficult, but later, it became natural. I met a man from Australia. We spoke English. I realized I could communicate. My English improved a lot. I still use this technique every day. Our teacher thanked her. I wanted to try it too. Remember, try thinking aloud. Chapter 5. My English Learning Routine. One final piece of advice. Try to read, listen, think, and speak. Every day, read books, Listen to English. Practice shadowing. Think aloud. And speak whenever you can. Don't be afraid of mistakes. You don't need perfect English. You need practice. English is not just a subject. It is communication. The more you use it, the more confident you become. My teacher showed me that learning English can be simple, practical, and enjoyable. And my journey was just beginning. Remember, read, listen, think, speak, practice every day, and little by little, your English will improve. Listen carefully, repeat after the speaker, and enjoy learning English through this story.